Hello and welcome to this week's Scrimshaw Show. My name is Scrimshaw. I'm recording this in a double back-to-back, but saving this for this week. Nathaniel Arfin, we just did like 50, 60 minutes on, I actually have no idea how long that recording was, on Justin Trudeau and the state of the federal Liberal Party. He wants to complain about Doug Ford, so I figured that was the compromise for getting him on to talk about what I give a shit about. And I've got some thoughts on Body Crombie as well that will be out in a column on Monday when this podcast airs. So you Nathaniel Arfin. Oh, like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel, by the way. Just I always remember to say it at the end. Like and subscribe.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, Ontario politics, Bonnie Crombie, Science Center, Goldie Gamari. There's so much going on right now.
Yeah, there is there Lisa McLeod. I almost said something deeply offensive. Lisa McLeod is the only conservative in Ottawa now.
Yes, yeah, that is true.
And Ottawa has no path in a conservative under a certain conservative government to having a cabinet minister again.
Well,
Well,
I was gonna say is she I believe is the only person without a special appointment or cabinet position in Doug Ford's ginormous cabinet.
when once he's officially made the nominee, Tyler Watt gives some money to him in Nepean. Let's get Lisa McLeod the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Um,
please.
Tyler's a good guy. Friend of mine. Friend of mine. So you're mad at Doug Ford about things?
Um,
Articulate the things you were mad about.
Specifically, there's a story that came out very recently. Let me get the network here. I'll give them credit. It was Global. Global released a story that a Toronto daycare network is cutting their staff salaries by $2.30 due to the funding model for childcare in Ontario under the $10 a day program. Um, I don't know about you, but I don't think I could take a $2.30 per hour wage cut right now. And I don't know how childcare workers are going to be able to continue to be childcare workers.
Let's also be very clear about the basic point, which is it's not like childcare workers make um, you know, fantastic salaries to begin with.
No, this
Like
is yeah, we're
like
talking about making
this is an industry this is an industry that plays on people's desire to do good to like a fairly gross degree if you think about the like pure just like pure uncut economics of the childcare industry. Like it's not exactly great how much the industry relies on manipulating people who want to do good.
absolutely not. Yeah, people's charity is oftentimes a huge drawback on society. Now, the Ontario government did announce that starting in 2025, they would have a new funding model, but they've been promising this new funding model basically since the program was introduced. Um,
Do we have the new autism strategy yet that they've been promising since 2018?
Speaking of Lisa McLeod, um, this is something that the Ontario government is plagued by. They are terrible managers of every single portfolio that they're in charge of. Emma McIntosh of the Narwhal broke a story this morning that the 413, which is slated to begin construction next year, still doesn't have a concrete final design. We're talking about the 413 here. This was Doug Ford's big infrastructure project. This is supposed to be what they get done. And they don't even have a plan.
I mean, isn't the plan to make Italian Canadians, incredibly rich.
Now,
Isn't that
I'm
the
gonna have to
actual
call
plan
you out.
behind the 413?
I believe there was an Italian firm named as one of the construction partners. Yes.
But like, I'm not even talking about the construction partners. I'm talking about I'm talking about the developers who own the land that the government had to buy for this.
Yeah, so there's a lot of the surrounding land, and there's been a lot of good reporting about this too. A lot of the surrounding land is owned by Doug Ford donors, and that much is very clear.
Again, Italian Canadian housing developers. We don't
Yes.
have to, I'm sorry, this is a highway that's going to Vaud. It's Italians. We
One of the
don't have
more
to be coy
interesting
about the fact that it's Italian Canadian, you know, it's people with names, and I say this with full respect. I don't like it's people with names that sound like they would be it sound like it would be a caricature if you needed to create if you had like an Italian side character in a book or a movie and you just needed to give them like an aggressively Italian name, right? um I mean the
now it's
413's, but like the education system's falling apart. The 413 isn't ready. So why is Doug Ford at 41% of the polls or whatever the fuck he's at?
and that's really the question.
I mean,
And
I know the answer, but like this is one of the worst governments, and like we're making zero progress in getting rid of them.
and if you look, you and I have talked about the political financing and the stuff that goes into fundraising. But if you look at the fundraising right now, Doug Ford through half of the year in 2024 from contributors who have donated above $200. I'll preface it with that. They've raised $3 million, and that's more than double the other three major parties, the Greens, New Democrats, and Liberals combined.
Didn't
There,
didn't Bonnie didn't Bonnie was didn't Bonnie Crombie have like a expensive wine and dine with Mark Carney in Q2?
yes, she did. It's,
And
I guess,
wouldn't those results be in because the tickets for that were quite expensive? Like that would be in the Q2 numbers that have been released so far, right?
I would think that they would be, yeah. And so that was in early June, and we can look at basically we can see how much they raised in June, and it wasn't that much. The Liberal Party is
Which is a
still
real problem if you're Bonnie Crombie and you came into the leadership saying, you know, I can raise $1 million in a month and allegedly raised 1.2 million. And
so in
in
June, the
what I still
Liberals got
maintain
outraised by
is
the
the most
NDP.
fakest. I would just want to make this point. The Bonnie Crombie raised $1.2 million in December is one of the fakest accounting tricks that has ever been pulled. It is like it is one of the fakest things that has ever been done because
It was, yeah, it was simply not true.
she had to just because the thing that campaign had was that if was that 25% of the money raised from the leadership race for the leadership candidates was tithed. Is that how you pronounce that word?
Tithed, yes, yeah.
Was tithed to the party, which spoiler alert, NDP, you probably should have run a leadership race and had them tithe 25% because that would have helped your books a lot. We're gonna get to Merit Styles, the rant that I've been saving for a while. But um, you know, the you know, in mid-December, their party had raised less than $500,000, and then days later, they were already at like they were, you know, less than $100,000 away. The numbers were fake. The numbers were obviously fake. The tithe money from because Bonnie raised substantially more than the spending limit, which meant that she basically tithed like a ton
Yeah.
to the party. I think Nate's tithe would be fairly impressive. Yasser's probably not insignificant. And it's just like one of these things like that number is so fake. And the way we know that number is fake is because the Q1 and Q2 numbers are not impressive. But again, if your whole thing is that you can deliver the dollars, Well, that's not great. And her other pitch was that she can win the suburbs. Um, I'm not going to name this person because he texted me this, and I don't know if he wants his opinion in public. But a friend of ours texted me, Twitter friend of ours, texted me the night of the Milton by-election where the Liberals lost, and said, um, you know, what is the case for Bonnie over Nate? You know, well, Nate might have lost Milton. Oh wait, like if your pitch is electability, if your pitch is electability, and then you go backwards in a by-election and you're stuck at 25% of the polls, like I don't want to turn this into Crombie bashing. I have some ideas for Bonnie. By the time people are listening to this, the column will be up. What do you think? If you had if you had one thing, if you could have 5 minutes with Bonnie Crombie and say, do this to start fixing your numbers, what would that thing be?
Can that thing be involve Nate Erskine Smith?
Yeah.
Because that is to me the most striking thing. And Nate actually mentioned this on a Q&A, a video Q&A, that he has reached out to the party, that he has expressed interest in helping out however he can, and hasn't heard back. Hasn't heard any concrete ideas about how he can support the party, I think is how he put it. That's a huge miss. This guy got 47% of the vote, and you're not involving him in the party?
I mean, especially when the end, like the squeezing the NDP down to the teens would materially change the fortunes of the party, both because that would open up lib like red orange contests in the 416, but also make it a lot easier to win red blue contests in the 905, and probably elevate the guarantee that you elevate the Liberals to official opposition next time. So prioritizing it, I think, would be very valuable, mostly because an NDP green squeeze, um, if you can get those combined votes down to like 22, I think right now it's closer to 30 on average between the Greens and NDP. If you can get that number closer to the low to mid 20s, then you can really then that opens up the map, I think, a lot for you. My thing for Crombie is like she needs to stop, and this is absolutely true of Merritt Styles as well. We need to stop fighting Doug Ford on Doug Ford's terrain, right? Like the booze dog line's been pissing me off since it started, and like whatever. But here's the thing: if the next election's about booze policy, Doug Ford's going to win, and we're all going to want to die. Okay, but if the next election is fought on booze policy, then people are going to view the Liberals as unserious. In a week when Bonnie Crombie, or last week, Bonnie Crombie announced a very solid housing commission. I'm excited to see what the commission puts together. I'm glad Alvin's in on the housing commission, right?
He is, yeah. It's Alvin
Alvin, and
Sojo,
then I
Eric
don't know this,
Lombardi,
but Eric Lombardi of I don't remember the name of their pressure group.
More Neighbors Toronto, I believe it is.
Leading YIMBY thinker Eric Lombardi. Was the other sort of like prominent. It was the other name that got mentioned in all the tweets, and I didn't click on any of the articles. But that's a solid thing. But the problem is that if you just keep mentioning the fucking booze doggle, all you're doing is making it easier. All you're doing is making it easier for Doug Ford to win again, because as you do a lot of work to sort of facilitate, the school system is crumbling, the healthcare system is crumbling, and we want to fight about booze policy. That seems counterproductive.
So the booze policy, and the way they've been trying to handle this messaging is by discussing what we could use that money for. First of all, from an economic perspective, that's not how government spending works. But second of all, they're talking about it as though it's this infinite source of money. And as though
They've spent it 14 times, plus the fact that they're acting like it's $1 billion a year as opposed to a one-off spending when, by the way, the $1 billion costing is like have you seen the Wolf of Wall Street?
yes.
What's the word McConaughey uses when he's talking about masturbation with Leo? Um
Oh,
Fugazi, right?
yes.
Like
Yeah.
the $1 billion costing, it's a fucking Fugazi. Like it's probably more than the 300 million Ford says it is, and it's probably short of $1 billion in terms of the real cost. But it's a one-off cost, guys. You're not hiring more nurses because you're just gonna cut those. You're just gonna all these nurses are just gonna take a 1 year contract. Like that's not how this fucking works. Um, keep going with your point. Sorry, the infinite spending thing. Like, guys, stop sending me emails with more things you can do with the money.
And that's just it, is they should be highlighting the incompetence of this government. They should be highlighting the misallocation of all spending, not honing in on one specific line of messaging that it
Actually,
really
no,
isn't
they shouldn't.
resonating.
Let the NDP do their good opposition. How about Bonnie Crombie make a fucking argument for your own policies? Is that too much to fucking ask anybody in Ontario to do?
Talk about the housing. Why am I finding out about it on Twitter days after it happened? Talk about those committees that you're building. Talk about
Remember,
the
remember
policies.
when, remember when there was like a 2 week. Remember when the Liberals spent 2 weeks talking about their big housing plan and then completely shut the fuck up about it for the next 3 months?
Haven't raised the housing crisis as a main issue for us to discuss. Instead, they're talking about booze policy. It's
Like,
infuriating. We have cultural icons crumbling before us, being closed years before they were supposed to be.
sorry, do not make me talk about. Don't make me talk about the fucking science center. I don't care.
But
This is my
they
most.
are
This is my
spending
most
more money
terrible.
as a result.
This
And
is this
that's
is
what
my this
pisses
is
me off.
no. This is my most Ottawa coded opinion. I don't give a single. I don't give a fuck about the science center. I don't give a fuck about Toronto Transit, and I don't give a fuck about Ontario Place. I don't care at all. I totally understand that that's just because I'm in Ottawa, and like I totally understand that Toronto and Vancouver and whatever didn't give a shit. Remember when Harper renamed the Civilization Museum to the History Museum, and the opposition tried to make that a thing?
No, I don't remember that.
He did that. He did this in the majority parliament. Whatever. The Civilization Museum was a fucking dump, and so they decided to call it the History Museum and re-ran and renovate a ton of it. And they tried to make it a whole thing. And like the rest of the country was like, we don't give a fuck about this museum that we're never going to go to. That is how I feel about the Science Center. And I get it. It's probably good politics. And like, did you go to the Science Center as a
Oh, all the time.
as a
All the
school?
time.
Okay. And you didn't grow up. I'm not trying to dox you, but like you grew up in the GTA, but in the 905, right?
Well, I grew up in Oakville. I'm not
Sure.
afraid to have people know that. Um,
Yeah. I
yeah, I
honestly
grew
I
up.
couldn't remember.
So it's the West End. It still takes about an hour and a half, of an hour 45
So
minutes.
you okay? So the thing is, if people in Burlington and Oakville went to the Science Center, then it is actually an issue that you should talk about. I just don't give a single fuck.
Oh, this is like
It's
it's
my
a
worst.
cultural
It's my
icon.
worst, most Ontario, most Ottawa coded opinion. I'm aware.
But it's the big problem here is they are shutting it down for reasons that don't necessitate it being shut down. They're opening up a temporary location somewhere in Toronto um for more than they had to pay to repair the building. And
So
now you have all these people saying we will pay for the repairs, and the Ontario government is just ignoring that those people have made those offers.
so walk. Okay, so Anna was it Anna Bila
Yes.
who pitched moving the Science Center to Ontario Place and then selling the building to
To make it
developers to
affordable
build a system
housing or
economy.
something like
Okay,
that, I
sure.
think.
Okay. So clearly that plan. Do you know who was not running, but do you know who was working for Anna Viola, right?
I am aware of her campaign staff and who
Okay,
they have
so are you
previously.
gonna? Okay, so you're not gonna help me out here. You're not gonna make this good podcasting. Okay, fuck you. Apparently, I have to do all the work to draw this out because you're actually going to answer my question. Her pollster was Nick Kuvalis. Nick Kuvalis, of course, is Doug Ford's pollster. Put two and two together. Bada boom, bada bing. It seems pretty clear that that plan was was a Fordite plan, right?
Yes. And if you look at the lands around it, it's pretty clear that there are some beneficiaries here, similar to the 413, similar to basically every other project that has been worked on with a sense of urgency throughout Doug Ford's governance. The
Isn't there
people
a transit line
benefiting are his donors.
going to the existing science center as well?
Sorry?
Isn't there a transit line that either goes to or is being built to go to?
Yes, the Ontario line was supposed to finish at the Ontario Science Center. They have the station name up and everything.
So, given that, that makes it a much more attractive proposition to developers because
Yeah,
you get to sell your condo units as on a major transit line.
that's right. And there's fewer
7 minutes
zoning
to Union Station or
restrictions,
whatever the fuck.
etc. It's pretty clear that there are beneficiaries here, and those beneficiaries are not predominantly the people of Ontario.
So why has Bonnie Crombie been? Why has the Ontario opposition been so utterly useless at convincing anybody that Doug Ford sucks, given that he very patently does?
Part of it is the financing, which we alluded to earlier. Doug Ford has a lot of money and continues to spend it on advertising to get himself keep his majority government, to keep himself in power. They have been running ads nonstop since they took office,
But why?
and it
Okay,
helps.
but why is Merritt Styles not? Okay, fine. That explains why Bonnie's numbers are in the toilet. Not in the
Yeah.
toilet, but like that explains why Bonnie hasn't gotten a sort of sustained honeymoon. None of these ads have been about Merritt Styles at all in the slightest. And she's at what, 21 in Abacus this week?
Um, where is Merit Styles though? And this is the thing with the NDP, and it continues to be a problem for the NDP, is that their values as a party are all over the map, so they can't have consistent messaging, and they don't attack consistently and with fervor and with the kind of support from the party base that they need.
So thank you for
Uh,
taking me up for this. Thank you for taking me up for this rant. The NDP
yeah,
have two massive problems, one of which is structural and one of which is a complete fucking dereliction by them. One, they're two different parties. I know I keep making this point, but what does Timmins, which they lost in horrifying, massive fashion in 2022, but would be theoretically key to winning an NDP government? What do Timmins and downtown Toronto have in common? What do they agree on? What does your pride attending, socially liberal, culturally conscious, say voters in Hyde Park, in Parkdale, in St. Paul's, whatever. What the fuck do they have in common with voters in Kenora or voters in Thunder Bay? What the fuck is this party that is stuck together for no coherent reason? What does what does fucking Windsor and what does Windsor and Davenport have in common? What? I'm genuinely asking, what do these places, what do they agree on? They're two very different value sets. They're two very different kinds of quote unquote left wing belief. Doesn't make any sense. That's structural. It affects the feds too. Like I don't blame Merit for that. Here's what I blame the NDP for. Because they coronated Merit Styles. They have no fucking ideas. What Bonnie Crombie is doing, both with the environmental commission, that expert commission, whatever the fuck it's called, and the housing one, is basically trying to coalesce the ideas from the 5 leadership candidates, right? Adil, Ted, Nate, Yazzer, Bonnie. The thing about those 5 manifestos, those 5 leadership platforms, is that there is a lot of common ground in terms of ambitions, right? Bonnie's experts and Nate's experts might have come at the issues differently, but there is actually not a whole hell of a lot different in ambition. You can piece together the best of those manifestos together, right? Which is what these commissions are designed to do. You know,
But it
where's
hasn't.
the NDP, because the NDP didn't run a contest, they
Yeah,
don't
no.
have these ideas. They
Yeah.
don't have, they didn't have the intellectual framework. Like the fact that Nate and Bonnie had the number of people, the number of external thinkers able and willing to put all of the time and energy to put together some of the very impressive documents, very impressive plans for the third party in Ontario. Clearly, there are people willing to work to put ideas into the forefront to try and advance their agenda. And the NDP just said no, we don't want any of that. We don't want any outside thinkers trying to invest in our party. We don't want any of this. We're just going to nominate a woman that literally I had not heard of before she took leadership. Like the decision to not have Merit face a leadership race, I actually think might kill the Ontario NDP's chance of killing the Ontario Liberals, of cementing themselves as the official opposition. It's such a catastrophic mistake. And honestly, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If I were Mayor Sells right now, I would call Mayor, I would call the who's the Sarah Jamba bluff and just say fuck it, leadership review right now. Let's go. Let's have the contest we skipped right now, because the NDP needs the intellectual firepower, and it would also help reestablish her credentials and her authority after the Sarah Jamba stuff from last year.
Now the big question is, when will we be facing an election in Ontario? Because it's coming early. I think we all know that.
It's either like middle of October, or it's uh first Thursday in June 2025. It's either the fixed term, like the traditional fixed term thing, but it's a year before, or it's like mid-October. It's like a Labor Day election call, basically, would be when it would go if they do it this year.
And what are you thinking?
Well, Doug Ford wants turnout to be as low as possible. The way you get turnout to be as low as possible is by running an election concurrently to a U.S. presidential. Doug Ford tries to break the record for lowest turnout and wins 44% of the vote on 28% turnout in mid-October. That'd be my guess. That's what I would do if I were him.
It's utterly depressing and completely cynical.
Welcome to fucking politics, buddy.
Oh, that's brutal.
So can you explain in 90 seconds your text message to me this morning, which is the school system is on the brink of
Yes.
nothing?
So my wife and I were having a conversation this morning. My wife's an educator. And we were talking about the cuts that boards are currently facing across Ontario. For example, Halton District School Board, where I live and where my wife works, we are looking at 90 personnel cuts. The board is no longer hiring new teachers. We're facing a point where we're gonna have teachers leaving because of the stress of the job, because of the amount of work that they have to do. And the union just ratified a new agreement. They're looking at job cuts, and the union just ratified a new agreement. I don't know that teachers are going to stick around. We've already been seeing mass exoduses from the profession, and it's resulted in lower qualities of education. There was a quote from the Halton District School Board trustee in an article I read. These cuts will have immediate and long-term impacts on the quality of education for all students, higher class sizes for special education, kindergarten and secondary classes, and the ability to maintain school building and grounds and replace learning resources and technology. We had a school roof collapse last year in Burlington. We can't afford further cuts to education, but they continue to come. This system is on the brink of collapse, and it's exactly what the government was looking to have happen. They want to bring in privatization, and it's becoming more and more evident every single time they underfund and every single time they cut our education system.
Oh, you actually came in at something close to 90 seconds on that.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, that's a poignant call to action. Would love for Bonnie Crombie to go to that school where the roof collapsed and maybe commit to a big fund for renovating existing schools and building more of them. Nathaniel Arfin, you've done double duty on the show today. I greatly appreciate you for doing double duty.
I
Um,
appreciate you having me.
at Arfin Nathaniel on Twitter.
That's correct.
Uh, follow me, like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Like this video. Follow me on Twitter at eScrimshaw. Read my work at scrimshawscripted.substack.com. Political betting, NFL, NHL, F1 at lines.com. I don't know. Read my book. Buy my book, Summation in the Storm. Available at Amazon. What did you think of Summation?
I enjoyed it. It was a really fun book. It took me on some adventures that I didn't expect, and maintained.
Calling it a fun book is both a hilarious descriptor if you've read it, but also deeply funny because I was actively like some of the most depressed I've ever been while writing it. So
Well, I mean, I'm not exactly known for my light reading. I am
yeah,
currently.
no. You had to read the fucking Carney memoir before you read my novel.
So, to me,
Oh, okay.
anything with
You have
fiction.
10 seconds. You have 10 seconds. Please explain please explain to everybody that Mark Carney is way more left wing than we think.
The dude is a radical. He wants to align markets with sentiment values. He wants to radically undergo change in our economy to fix the world. The guy is a left-wing radical.
And yet
So
everybody
enjoy that quote.
he codes as the most Bay Street fucking red blue liberal of all time.
He's an economist, so one of the big problems with him is that he can't think on his feet when he's doing these big speeches. When he's asked a question, it can kind of throw him for a loop. So I'd like to see him work on that. But he
Yeah,
is not.
great skill in a political candidate, being able to
Yeah,
answer a follow-up question. Anyways,
it's pretty brutal.
I've taken enough of
But
your
yeah,
time.
talk soon.
I've taken enough of your time. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thanks.